Imagine you are creating a report or a chart on the computer for someone, maybe your boss, or maybe a customer, or maybe even a friend. You want to give them a way to change what they see on that report. You want them to be able to look at different parts of the information without them needing to be a computer expert. What helps you achieve this here in Tableau is what we call parameter. So when we talk about parameter in Tableau is like giving the user a special spot where they can put in their own choice or a setting they can change themselves. Think of it like this. It's just like an empty space or an open box on a form. And you know that sort of open box I'm actually talking about? You have this form and you have an open box where the user can write something. For example, they could write in a number they are thinking of. It can be a sales target, or they could pick an item from a list you have prepared for them, like choosing a specific city or product. So parameter is just like that kind of empty space. It is also like a tab, a control tab. Some of you have radio, you have fan at home. You know, if your fan has three levels, level one, level two, level three, and you know that if fan is on level one, it won't blow the way it will when it is on level three, right? Good. So what do you do? Maybe this day you came back home, the heat is too much, the house is too hot. You go and adjust your fan. You increase it from one to the highest, which will be three or five, as the case may be. You see that adjusting you did. That's how parameter is here in Tableau. So anytime you hear about working with parameters to add interactivity is the fact that when you adjust that your fan, that's that button you go and turn. You're adjusting it from one to three, that to five. And the higher you go up, the higher the fans. That button is the parameter. Now, the fact that when you move it, you find out that, oh, as I increase it, it is blowing faster. It means there is an interaction. That's interactivity. So it is just like that, something your user can adjust. This time around, it's not about you, because when we look at a dashboard, we have two parts. We have the back end and we also have the front end. So now I'm talking about what your user can use. What users use is mostly the front end, the part that they can actually see. I hope you're following, everyone. The part those people who uses it can actually see, and that's the area I'm talking about. So when they turn that button, it's the same thing as saying that they are changing the parameter setting. What they see on the computer screen changes right away to match their choice. That's what I'm talking about. So please, to every one of you here, a parameter is something that holds a piece of information. It can be a number, like how many times, how many items to show. It can be a date or a word, like the name of a location. Parameter is something that is controlled by the user. So when we talk about, okay, now I've known what parameter is. What are those things that makes it a parameter? What are the characteristics, the qualities, the features of a parameter? The first is that it is something that holds a piece of information. Secondly, parameter is something that is controlled by the user. The person looking at your dashboard, at your report, gets to change this piece of information using simple tools like a box to type in, a slider to move, or a list to pick from. The third characteristics, or what makes it a parameter, is that parameter is something that makes the report update automatically. So when the user changes that information, Tableau will instantly redraw your charts and update. You get to see that your table gets to be updated to show exactly what the user asks for. So it's like the report is interactive and, response to the wishes of those your users and all of that. So before we do a little practical, why are parameters so important? Why do we bother about parameter? Why? Now, the first reason is because parameter lets your audience explore. What do they explore? There is what we call user-driven analysis. You can take down these notes. Why? I said the first reason why we need parameter is what? It lets your audience explore what we refer to as what? User-driven analysis. Now, when we talk about user-driven analysis, it's just like this. Instead of making 10 different reports to show sales for 10 different areas, you can make one report and add a parameter that lets the user pick the area they want to see. I hope we understand. They get to come and click and see the result for themselves. That means that your analysis is user-driven. At that point, it makes the people using your report feel more involved and also helps them find answers to their own specific questions. Even questions you did not think of beforehand. User-driven analysis. Now, the other reason why we bother about parameter is because of what we call what if. Now, when we talk about what if, it's like a question, so put question mark on it. What if? What if? And before someone asks that kind of question, it definitely means the person is trying out different ideas. Because if I am not trying out different ideas, why then do I have to, care about what if? So this aspect of what if is where parameters are really powerful. They let people try out different scenarios easily. What if our goal for sales, based on our May capstone project, what if our goal for sales was 500 units instead of 400 units? Which of our shops would reach that goal? In that case, the user can just type in 500. That's if parameter was involved. The user can just type in 500 and the report will show them. What if we only want to see information from last month? The user will do what? The user will come in that goal, pick that month based on our parameter, and the report will update. So it is like giving them a way to experiment with the information and see different outcomes. The third reason why we bother about or why parameter is important is because it keeps our reports clean and easy to use. Now, if you did not use parameters, you might have to create many, many separate reports. and charts to show all the different views. And like I've told us before, when you have many, many reports, it can get very crowded and confusing for your users. So parameters help you make one smart interactive report that can show many different things, making it much neater and simpler for everyone to understand and use. The number 4 reason why parameter is important is because parameter changes how your charts look and what they show. It changes how your charts look and what they show. So what this actually means is that you can use parameters to let users change things. Things like a target line on a graph. They can set their own sales target line to see who is above or below it. You too can use them to decide how many things to show. You can say, show me the top 5 salespeople, and the user can change 5 to 10 or 3. You can even use them in your background calculations to change what numbers are being used for the results. I hope we understand. Now, as a data analyst, it's also good you don't just know what a particular technique is and why it is important or why you should use it. You should also know when. When should I think about using a parameter? When? When should I think about using a parameter? So this is when you should think about using parameter. Now, you're to think about using parameter first, anytime you want to give the person using your report a way to put in their own information. And I've said it before, information can be a number. It can be a date. It can be a choice from a list that will then change what they see on the screen. When should you think about using a parameter? When you want to let people test out different possibilities or what if ideas with the data. When should you think about using a parameter? You should think about using a parameter when you want to make parts of your charts, like target lines, or how many things are shown, changeable by the user. When should you think about using a parameter? You should think about using a parameter when you think it would be really good if the user could just adjust this one thing to see how it affects the whole report. And that's a perfect sign that you need a parameter. And of course, I know for sure that if you want your report to be less like a fixed picture on paper and more like an interactive tool that responds to what the user wants to see, then you must make parameter your best friend here. So now that we have this very solid and simple foundation, I want us to move on to a practical example using our data sets here. As you know, we have been working with a sales data set that has lots of details. Okay, the sales data set has lots of details. Let's quickly remember the main types of information we have in that data set. Information about sales and product. Things like product name is here. So ensure yours contains those information. Product category, sales amount, quantity sold, total sales, widget, product category themes. Also, cross-check to be sure that yours contains information about time and place. When we talk of time and place, when we talk about time and place, I'm referring to information about sales date, information about region. Also cross-check to be sure that yours have information about customers and salespeople. So be sure that you have informations that have to do with customer ID in column K. Yeah. And also information that have to do with customer segments. And also information that has to do with sales rep ID. And other business details like discount applied, details like cost of goods sold, other details like profit margin, sales channel. So inventory status, return status, customer feedback, suggested feedback themes, customer assessment of sales rep. Now, this is the information we will use to build our interactive reports. The case scenario continues, and I would like to share it now. Then I'm going to send this to us. Okay, so the case scenario, we are going to carry out a sales performance review. Now, imagine this. The head of sales at our company here wants to check how well different product categories are doing. You know, we have product categories in column C. So specifically, they want to see how the total sales for each category compares against a sales target that they can decide on the spot. They don't want a target that is fixed. They want to be able to type in a new target amount during their meetings to quickly see which product categories are meeting this chosen target. We have a challenge, and the challenge is how can we create a report that allows the head of sales to first type in any sales target, any sales target amount they're interested in at that moment. Challenge number 2. How can we create a report that allows the head of sales to instantly see on the report which product categories have achieved total sales that are greater than or equal to this target they just typed in? This is exactly the kind of problem that parameters help us solve beautifully. So in our next session, we are going to build it step by step with parameters. So please, if you have not opened your Tableau, open your Tableau and let us build this together. The first thing we are going to do is to create the parameter for the sales target, like I explained before. Let's go in section 2. So now I want us to fire up Tableau and get our hands dirty. So the first thing we'll do is to create the parameter for the sales target. Don't forget the scenario I shared with us. I said, imagine the head of sales at our company. Let's say this is our company. So imagine the head of sales of this company wants to understand how sales performance, specifically total sales, is tracking against a target. And this target is something they can set. They also want to quickly see which product categories are meeting or exceeding the ad hoc target. So they want a fixed target. They want to be able to impute a target on the fly during maybe their weekly review meetings, monthly review meetings, as the case may be, to see how different scenarios play out. This practical data analysis at the workplace. So for those of you who have been asking, following me up, on social media, asking, sir, what are those things we do as data analysts at the workplace? These are practical scenarios. Okay. So I told you we have a challenge, and that this challenge is on how can we create a view that allows the head of sales to first impute any sales target value, and also to instantly see which product categories have achieved total sales greater than or equal to this imputed target. So this is perfect for a parameter. So let's build it step by step again with parameters. So I want you to create the parameter for the sales target. So join me quickly. Go to the data pane. The data pane is on your left-hand side here, where I just highlighted red on your left. Okay, so once you get there, look for any empty space and right-click. So I can come up here and right-click any empty space at all. Or even maybe it's on top anywhere, but just go to the data pane and do what I said. Right-click on any of the features, any empty space you can see, right click. You can see where I took mine to any empty space. I just right click. So when you right click, you will see options will appear. Come to create, choose parameter. Can you see when I went to create, out of the list of options, it gave me calculated field group set parameter, choose parameter. Now when you choose parameter, a dialog box will now appear. Can you see this box that pop up? So what you do is called configuration. You have to configure this dialog box. Are you ready? So first, name. What do we give as the name? So let's call it sales target input. I hope we are doing this. You can give it any name. Maybe you're working on a project in a company. Always make sure your name is something that is descriptive. Okay? This naming of a thing, people always find it difficult. So what should I name this? I'm doing this. What should I name this? Always go for something, a name that is descriptive. Okay. Now come down to data type. We have different types of data, and I told you about the informations earlier on. It could be a number, it could be anything. Since we are dealing with total sales, that means it is a number, right? So total sales is a number, which is currency. So we are not going to use string. String is for text. We are going to use float or integer. Integers are for whole numbers. Floats are for numbers that have decimal parts. So go with float because your currency amount can have decimal part, right? Okay, so let's go with float, or if you still insist, if you're sure that there is no decimal, then you can go with integer. Okay, so but for simplicity, let's go with integer in this our example. Assuming we are looking at whole dollar amounts for our target, then we'll go with integer. So if you still go back to the data, you can cross-check to know how your currencies are structured. So we'll go with integer. Okay. Now, display format one, value when workbook opens. You can so have here its current value. So this is just like what I call a default starting value. So we still have to set it, but come down here to allowable values. Now for allowable values, we want the user to be able to type in any target, right? So we are going to select all. You could also choose range if you wanted to set minimum, maximum allowable target. Or you can also choose list for a situation where your list of choices, you have list of choices that are predefined. Okay. But like I said, we'll go with all. Why? Because we want the user to be able to type in any target. So we choose all. So after choosing all, you come down and click OK. And that's it. Once we have done this now, we now have our sales target parameter created. Now, come with me down. Come with me down here. You'll find out that you will now see sales target input, right? Listed under parameters here. This is the parameter section. So you find out that we have the sales target input listed there. Look at the bottom of your data pane. Great. But right now, this parameter does not do anything. It's just a value holder. So we need to connect it to our data. That takes us to step 2. Now, for step 2, you have to create a calculated field for you to be able to use this parameter called sales target input. So we need to create a calculation that uses our sales target input parameter to determine if a product category has met the target. So again, go back to the data pane area on your left, right click on an empty space, right click. After right clicking, come down to create, select calculated field this time around. So again, we are going to configure this and we'll give it a name. Now let's name this is target met. Awesome, right? Is target met. Okay, so you can even enter a question mark. Now it's time for the formula. Now for the formula, this happens to be where the whole magic happens. Remember, what we want is to compare the total sales for each product category to our sales target input parameter. So this formula will be like this. We are going to say sum, then we'll put our square bracket, total sales. So total sales column will appear, right? So select total sales. Can you see how I structured it? The sum is a function we use to add. So we want to add all total sales, okay, for a particular product category. So you write down sum, open bracket, square bracket, total sales. Okay. Then you give a space, you enter your greater than sign, then you enter your equal to. You give a space, you bring your square bracket, and then you type in the parameter we have created, which is sales target input. See it here, appearing here. So I'll select it. Make sure what you type in is what? That very parameter. So try and do it that way. Okay, so have you done that? So if you have done this, you can come down, you see where we have the calculation is valid. You can click on apply and you click on OK. So look towards your left, you'll find where we have is target met. Can you see it? Is target met. So the whole formula thing is something you have to do as far as working here is concerned. So I hope there is nobody who is lost on this. This sum total sales, like I said, is a function we use to add. When we say add here, there's a word we use. We call it aggregation to summarize. We use it to aggregate, to summarize the total sales. So the reason is because we need to aggregate because we are going to look at this by product category. The greater than sign and equal sign here is our comparison operator. Greater than or equal to. The sales target input here, this is our parameter. Tableau will substitute the current value of this parameter into the calculation. So this calculation will return true if the sum of sales for a category is greater than or equal to the target, and false if otherwise. So click OK once you're done. Now, you see, you will now find out if target is met. Is target met? Look at it here on your left-hand side. Can you see it? Is target met? So you will see is target met in your measures. You know, I've told us before that this data pane is divided into two sections, right? We have the part that has to do with your text data, dimensions, and all of that descriptive. And we have the part that has to do with measures, right? Good. Now, if you look below on the measures area, you come to find out that you will see is target met in your measures. Okay, in your measures. Then those that have to do with your text above, right? Cool. Now you should also have realized something here. Okay. The is target met, we have something here. Okay, so this filter section, please take away sales channel. We don't need it. Then also take away some sales amounts in pages. So let everything be blank. Please take notes. Let all here be empty, 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 empty. We don't need all those things. Okay. Yeah, I don't need them. So, but it's target met, take note of it there. Okay. All right. Now, step 3. It is time you build the visualization. So I want us to build a simple bar chart to display this. So first, go to your data pane area, look for product category. This is how you look for it. Go there, this slider, slide it, product category, okay? Drag it, drop it on row shelf. Then go back and look for total sales. On your measure section, drag total sales, drop it on columns, column shelf. This will give us a basic bar chart, right? Which shows total sales for each product category. So these are all the total sales. And I've told you if you want it to be displayed for clarity, what do? You have to take total sales, which happen to be numbers, drop it on label under the marks area. And you should have them appear, but depending on the size, some may not appear unless you have to adjust the size. Okay. Okay. But the bar already explains better visually. Okay. Now, let's use our is target met calculation to visually differentiate the categories. So what do? We'll come back to data pane area, drag is target met, and then drop it on color, this color tab under marks area. We call this part the marks card. So we'll drop is target met. I'll go now. I will carry is target met and drop it inside color shelf on the marks card. Can you see what I did? Now you find out that the bars color have changed. Do you notice it? So instantly, you will see your bars, their color have changed based on whether they meet the current target value, right? Cool. But here is something interesting, which is the interactive part. Remember, the topic we are looking at is working with parameter to add what? Interactivity. And I've told us before that when we talk about the concept or the principles of interactivity within this domain, it's very important. That's why I told us to make research on data enablement, that it has to do with data enablement. So this is how we will now empower. This is where we will now empower the user. We will go and look for our sales target input. This, look at it under parameter. We'll right click on it. Options will appear. Choose show parameter. Remember, I told you what the parameter is, that the parameter is like a control, right? Good. So you choose show parameter. Now, when you do that, you then realize that a small control box will appear here on the right-hand side. Look at it here, where I just highlighted red. Do you see this sales target input? Cool. You can see the current value inside it is what? 1. So we are like saying all those categories that met target of $1, let it show true. That's why we have the blue as true, meaning that all this product category met $1. They are more than we generated, we sold above $1. But what if the user is saying, my concern is I want to know those sales category, product category that we sold $50,000. We're talking about total sales. So total sales is like saying if this data set is extracted from the database and the time period was for 5 years or 2 years, that means it's for the whole 2 years. That's why we call it total sales. So we cannot just look at one. In that case, the user can say, let me know those product categories that maybe we have a target and our target is 50,000. I want to know those categories that met that target of sales. Do you understand? So now if you look at the sales target input parameter, I went there just now and I typed in what? 50,000. Why? Because we use all, meaning users can be able to enter whatever target that they want. I will then enter it that way. I hope you're seeing this. So this is just like a field where you can say, okay, why don't my user be able to type in a new number? It's all about the configuration. Sometimes you can configure it using sliders, but here we are using all, and all configuration gives this type in box. So now let us test the interactivity. Woo! This is where it's now interesting, the fun part for me. Now in this parameter control for sales target input, type in any value. Okay, I've typed in 50,000. This is how you go there, 50,000. When you're done, press enter. Now that I press enter, what happens? Let me hear you. Let me hear you. What happens? Oh, I can see the colors of your bars will instantly update, right? That's what I'm talking about. Some categories that were true, met target, might now be what? Some categories that, look at it, some categories that were true, met target before, might now be false. Before it was $1, we entered there 1. Like in case of your currency, I'm a Nigerian. Okay, let's assume if it was 1 naira before, but now we are saying 50,000. All of them, they met, right? But now what happened? Changed. That's what I'm talking about. So some categories that were true, met targets might now be false. And you know what that means? They are false. It means they did not meet target and vice versa. So look here closely. There's somewhere I want you to bring your eyes to, and you can see through those that are this deep yellow color, then the blue are false. Okay. So what it tells you is clothing met the target of $50,000 or naira, whatever your currency is, or cedis. Jewelry did not meet. Musical instrument did not meet. Sport met. I want you to try another value. Try another value, like let's say 25,000. So you come back to the target, sales target inputs, and then you type in 25,000. Again, what happens? You notice that the chart this time around, when you hit your enter, responds again, right? Good. So I want you to imagine the head of sales of this, our company. Remember, this is our company, every one of us here. So imagine the head of sales of this, our company, doing this. That means the head of sales can now type in any target they want, right? Cool. And the chart will immediately show which product categories are hitting that specific goal. So they can explore different scenarios, they can understand what we call sensitivities, and they can also be able to make informed decisions, all thanks to this simple parameter. So let me give you some quick ideas before we wrap up this session. You can display the sales target input value directly in your title, okay? Your worksheet title. So it can always be clear what target is being evaluated. So if you've evaluated a target against 25,000, what I'm saying, the value can come in your title here. Okay, so you know what target is being evaluated, just in case you want to submit this. You could also create another calculated field to show how much a category is over or under the target. You could also use this parameter to filter the view directly, showing only the categories that meet the target. So what we have just done is what we call user-driven analysis. And like I told us in previous session, that parameters put the power in the hands of the end user, allowing them to customize the view and ask own questions. I have also told us about this whole essence, which is also geared towards what we call what-if scenarios, that they are perfect for exploring hypotheticals and understanding the impact of changing variables. So instead of having those multiple static dashboards you see on YouTube and all of that, your colleagues do a lot of static stuff, you can create one flexible interactive dashboard. Simple to create, powerful to use. As you saw, setting up a basic parameter is straightforward, but its impact on interactivity is huge. So the process here in Miramar Institute is always first define the need. What do you want the user to be able to control? What do you want the user? Don't ever forget this, please. What do you want the user to be able to control? 2, define the name, the data type, and the allowable values when you're creating your parameter. 3, after creating your parameter, you have to use the parameter. So you have to incorporate it into what we call a calculated field. It's like a filter or a reference line. And that's what I did. It's target met. Show the parameter control. Make it visible and usable for your audience. And that's why I came down, I right click on my parameter and I choose show parameter. All right. So that was a practical dive into using parameters for interactivity. So what question do you have? How can you see yourself using parameters in your own project based on our data set? Remember, the goal at Miramar Institute is for you to not just learn the how, but also the why and the when. Parameters are a fundamental tool for creating truly insightful and interactive visualizations. Keep practicing, keep exploring, and trust me, you will become Tableau wizards in no time. See you in our next lecture.